Hi everybody, Matt Geary for Geek Pride here, and I'm here to review cha-ching! The new X-Wing game from Fantasy Flight Games. Now, it would be a minor understatement to say that I am a Star Wars fan. Have been since I was but yay big. A little nipper. My father sent me, not didn't send me, brought me to a back-to-back screening of all three Star Wars films. I was probably about 4 years old. It was like 30 years ago, and I have some strong memories of seeing Yoda and being really uncomfortable in my dungarees. It is therefore understandable that when I found out about the new X-Wing game coming out a few years back, I was all over that shiz like a Jawa on some new droids. Odini! As you can see, I have a bit of a collection. So first off, what do you get in the box? Well, this is a new version of it, so as in the original, you get ×2 First Order TIE Fighters, you get ×1 T-70 X-Wing, a maneuver dial for each, a selection of tokens including shield, stress, target lock and action tokens. You also get debris, asteroids and objectives to spice up the game a little, unit cards with abilities and price, upgrade cards to increase different aspects of your ship, movement rulers, attack ranger, and a small rule book and glossary. All this comes at a very conservative price of only $29.99, which, if you think about it, each model on its own is £12. So you're getting three models, and all the books, and all the tokens, and all the other gumph for £29.99. And in some places it's slightly cheaper. You can get it for £26, £27, depending on where you shop. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Unfortunately, and if you've got no self-control, it's a bit of a wallet killer because, like I said, each ship's about 12 quid, and the bigger ones are obviously more expensive, and you kind of want them all. So anyway, how does X-Wing play? Well, now I am a veteran of many tabletop games, from historic ones to fantasy to sci-fi. I am a massive 40k geek with about 14k's worth of Space Marines. But unlike Warhammer 40k, where you have a huge rulebook, a million codices, FAQs, supplements, rules from Forge World, rules from White Dwarf, all kinds of rules just flooding in that you just can't keep in your brain and you're having to look through them. X-Wing's not like that at all. You get a small rulebook, which is easy to read and digest, and a glossary which helps you elaborate on some of the things you have in the rulebook. Now, this is ideal for people who are just getting into tabletop games because it is easy to learn. You know, I picked it up within an hour of playing it. There's not a lot to it, and you don't have to spend hours making models. In 40k and games like that, you've got to sit there and you've got to stick models together, then you've got to read the huge amount of rules before you can play. In this, you literally you get your figure, you get your ship in a little box, you put it on a stand, you put a little card thing on it, and that's it. Pretty much game on. And I think that's a really, really big plus for this sort of game. It's sort of refreshing. Now, I am a model maker. I love model making, I love painting, but it's just good to have a plug and play game where you can literally have an awesome model, some great rules, and just play straight off the bat without having to paint a bazillion guys, which can be pretty mind-numbing. So for all you X-Wing virgins out there, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the rules of the game, just so you can see how easy it really is. First of all, you've got squad building. So you have a certain amount of points, each person, before you start the game. You both decide on, obviously, how many ships you've got, how many points you're going to have for that game. Now, this is standard in a lot of tabletop games. Point values in games has been around for years. So you have a certain amount of points, 300 points, 500 points, 1,000 points, depending on how many ships and how big or how small you want the engagement to be. Then, you each take out your cards for the ships and the upgrades that you want, and you just build a mini fleet or a squadron. You build it up, you have certain cards, and they have point values on them. You also have your upgrade cards, which have point values on them as well. Now, the upgrade cards help you basically, well, upgrade your vehicle. You upgrade your ship. You can have photon torpedoes, you can have turret weapons, you can have mines, you can have pilot skills, you can have things that make your ship more durable, faster, more agile, better at shooting, whatever. And these add to the amount of your ship. So you've got your squadron or your fleet, depending on how big your game's going to be. Now it's all what scenario you're going to play. Now, there are scenarios within the rulebook itself. There's a mini campaign which is really good, but it's only based on the models that you have. So if you're just starting off, that's a really good way to start. Obviously, if you have some more ships, if you bought some more with your box set or whatever, you can do it a different way. Obviously, you can elaborate on the scenarios that are still there with a few more ships, or you can just create your own, and it's very simple. Get yourself a gaming mat, which I would highly recommend because it just looks freaking awesome. You set down, you take turns, you set down asteroids and objective markers and things like that around the board, and then you get the ranging meter, stick it to the side of the board, and then you basically deploy your ships one at a time, taking turns between 1 and 2 range. So next up we have maneuvers. Now you've got all your guys set out. How do they move? Well, you get a dial with each one of your ships. Now Fantasy Flight are very fond of their dials. So you get your dial, and within each dial there is a different maneuver. Depending on how agile that ship is, there will be different ones for different ships. So you basically turn the dial, as shown on this video. You turn the dial to whatever maneuver you want, place it upside down beside your ship, and that's it. Now, this is a really good mechanic because you do this for each one of your ships. You both do it at the same time. You place your things face down so the other person can't see it. And it's good because it means your ships are moving, obviously, based on their initiative at different times. They'll be doing different things, and there's a very good chance that they could pass each other, or they could bump into each other. They could completely miss the target they're meant to be going for because of the unpredictability of the way the maneuvers work. And this is very realistic, obviously, because you don't know what the other pilot's going to be doing, and so if you're turning left, maybe he's going to turn right and you'll be out of your arc of fire, and it's brilliant. I really enjoy that part of the game. So you've placed your dial, you've picked your maneuver, you've placed your dial, you've flipped them over based on, obviously, the pilot skill. Now you have to obviously move your guy, and in the box you get these little rulers with numbers on them. Obviously there's a 1 maneuver, there's a 2, there's a 3, there's ones that do slightly banks left, banks right, there's ones for barrel rolls and things like that. And it's very simple to use. You basically get the ruler, you stick it on the bottom of the ship you're using, and you move it to the other end, and that's it. Now, at this point, I have to mention obstacles because they will affect how you move. Like in the movies, if you crash into an asteroid, you're going to take damage. And obviously, having asteroids and stuff around the place kind of makes the game a bit more interesting and looks pretty cool. But obviously, if you've got your maneuver ruler down and it touches an asteroid, you've got to stop on the asteroid. You've got to stop there, you've got to roll a dice, and if you take a hit, you take a hit. No saves allowed, you just take a hit because you've hit an asteroid, and that's just the way it is. And that's the good thing, because sometimes you can misjudge how far your ruler is going to take you, and there is no pre-measuring, so you've got to think, right, I need to move forward 3, and then you go, oh crap, 3's too far, that's going to take me into an asteroid, and that's just the luck of the draw, and that's what makes it so awesome. Now, next up we have actions. Now, I've obviously mentioned these slightly earlier on, but after you've done a maneuver, after you've moved, you can carry out an action. Now, these are critical in the game, and they can either add damage, they can subtract damage, they can maneuver you out of the way of things, and they are vital. If you take stress tokens, which happens when you obviously do red maneuvers or certain cards will cause you stress. You can't do these actions, and these can be crippling. Now, there are numerous actions that you can take after you take a maneuver. There's an evade, there is a focus, there is a boost, there's a barrel roll, and there's a target lock. Now, each one of these has its specific rules. A evade token is basically what it says in the tin. It evades damage. So when somebody rolls damage, you automatically take one away because you've got that evade token. A focus token is basically something similar. You can make it reduce damage, or if you're shooting, you can also make it increase damage. So if you've got a focus token, it's mean you're focused at what you're doing, and therefore you can switch a dice roll from a eye token to a damage, or on the other side, a eye token to an evade. Then you've got a barrel roll, which is as simple as that. You can basically move your guy forward, do a barrel roll, and he moves to the right or to the left. The barrel roll is based on a little ruler of 1, and it's up and down the base of the model, and he either moves left or right. So that's quite good if you're sort of near asteroids or something you kind of want to get out of the way, or you're slightly within somebody's arc of fire and you want to get out of it. Next up, you have a target lock, which basically is something that lets you re-roll all of your attack dice. It's basically you've locked onto them, and just say you have a shit roll, you can re-roll all those dice. And then finally, you've got the boost action, which is kind of like the barrel roll. You get a 1 ruler, and you just put it in front, and you move forward once. So that's quite good if you want to get somewhere fast. If you need to get an objective, you need to do something like that, you've got a boost token. So, we've set our guys up, we've maneuvered them, we've done all of our actions. It's time to shoot. Now, shooting in X-Wing is extremely simple. There's not a lot to it. Not like in, say, 40k, where you've got lots of modifiers for armor types and armor values, and if they're in cover, are they out of cover, if they've jinked, etc. like that. Basically, all you've got is, are you within your arc of fire? Are you within range of the range meter? If it's yes to both of those, then happy days, you can shoot. Now, there are some minor modifications depending on how far away you are from the enemy. So you will have this range meter, which has a 1, a 2, and a 3. Now, if it's in range 1, you can basically add an additional attack dice to your dice rolling. So if you've got an attack value of 3, you can have 4 dice, and you can roll 4 of them because you're within range 1. If you're within range 2, you don't get any modifiers whatsoever. It's just normal shooting. So 3 dice, you shoot with 3. If you're within range 3, you still get to shoot with your 3 dice, but the defender gets to roll 3 defending dice. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So basically, you roll the dice, you add up all the hits, which are the little blast symbols on the dice. The defender adds up all the evade tokens, the evade token, and obviously how many he's got on his dice, and then there's just subtracted. The amount of evades cancel out the amount of damage on your dice. If there's more damage dice than there is evades, then obviously you take that damage. Now you got to note that there's also critical damage. Now critical damage is the same as normal damage, but it's got a little hollow symbol, and that basically causes more debilitating damage to your ship. So you pick up a card for this. Now when you pick up the card, it'll tell you on it what it does. So it might cause 2 extra damage, or it might mean that you're constantly under stress, so you can't take any actions, or it means you can't do specific maneuvers. And these things can have massive detrimental effects to your strategy. So obviously getting critical hits is not a good thing. The only sort of good thing about the defense dice is that critical hits go automatically first. So if you've got an evade, you take off critical hits first, then you take normal hits. So there is a way of getting through it. Finally, I'd like to mention the cards themselves. That's the cards, obviously the unit cards and the little cardboard things that go on the plinth of your ship. Now, these are things that you'll obviously see at the very start when you're choosing your forces. But they're very important because they have all the different values for that ship. So you will have the cost of it, you will also have the attack value, you'll have its defense value, you'll have how many shields it has, and then you'll have how many hull points it has. Now shields are very important because shields take damage before they take damage off your hull points. They're effectively more hull points for your ship, and so ships with shields are more durable than ones without. So TIE fighters, the original TIE fighters, don't have shields, but are slightly more maneuverable, whereas the X-Wings have shields and are slightly less maneuverable. For all of you who have played the original game, and you're just looking to see if you want to upgrade to the new version, then here is a list of differences that I've seen from the two. The new X-Wing is slightly more expensive, has an additional shield, a few more upgrades, and has additional maneuvers, and it looks pretty bitchin' as well. The TIE Fighter, which is a first order TIE Fighter, is very similar, but it has an additional shield, which is very good because the additional shield obviously means it's more durable, and the old TIE Fighters don't have shields, so it's a good buy. It is again slightly more expensive. Now, unlike the first edition where the Imperial player always went first, in the second edition it's down to initiative and pilot skill. Now obviously it had pilot skill in the original one, but whenever you had two pilots of the same skill, the Imperial player always went first. In this case, it's actually down to the player with the least points in their squadron, which is a really good idea because it obviously encourages people to not go overboard. So it's quite good that if you've got slightly less, then you can choose if you're going to go first or you're going to go second. Now, if you've got to a point where you've got two players who have the same pilot level, and one has an initiative and it goes first. It used to be the case where that's it. He goes first. If he destroys your ship, then that's tough. It's destroyed. Even if it was on the same level. Now, in this case, if you've got two ships of the same level, and one goes first and it destroys the other one can still have its turn because they're effectively going at the same time. So you've got two level 8s, one destroys the other one can still do its attacks and its maneuvers, but after it's done those, it's destroyed. Now, the biggest change that has been added to this new edition is the critical damage deck. You get a deck of cards that tell you what critical damage your ships take if they take critical hits, and they've changed this because there was a lot of gripes in the old edition that some of these critical damage cards did nothing to certain ships because of their special abilities. These new critical damage cards are a lot more debilitating and affect pretty much all ships in the game. And just a note for all of you who play in the tournaments, these critical damage cards are going to be standard for all tournaments come January 2016. All in all, I can't fault the new X-Wing. They have obviously taken into account a lot of the minor issues from the first core set and incorporated it into the new box, with the addition of giving you the chance to play with some of the new ships. This game is though like crack for Star Wars and tabletop fans alike, and I hate Fantasy Flight for bringing all of these new awesome models out. All they need now is to have a epic command ship version of this game, and then that'll just be my wallet gone. Oh wait, they've done that already with Star Wars Armada. Thanks Fantasy Flight for being awesome. So there we have it. That is X-Wing in a proverbial nutshell, or shall I say a proverbial Star Wars version of a nutshell. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with a less formally dressed Matt Geary to round it up and give you a score. So I kind of liked X-Wing, therefore I'm going to give it a big Geek Pride 5 out of 5. Easy to pick up. Variable game lengths, short or long depending on how you fly. Relatively inexpensive as long as you don't go overboard like I have. Pretty awesome minis. And completely compatible with the old version with some minor improvements. Go and get a copy now. Ba-ching!